right, guys, I am very excited tonight because we have an event that has been a long time in the making. You know, there's so much work being put behind this. I'm excited to present it to you guys and just help us prosper, okay? So, alumni, ladies, gentlemen, okay, cherished members of the Colaberry community, I stand before you with a story that carries weight of dreams, the power of knowledge, and the promise of generational wealth. It's a story that has driven me for years, a story that I believe will ignite the passion within each of you to embark this journey together. In a nation of almost 332 million people, the desire for financial wealth is universal. It's a dream that lives within all of us, yet only a few among us manage to grasp it. As I traverse the various milestones in my life, a burning question danced in my mind, a question that many of you might have asked as well. Why in the world, so obsessed with success, was no one teaching us the fundamental principles of financial prosperity? Why was there this conspicuous silence on topics like credit, real estate, investing, and the very foundations of building wealth? The answer, my friends, lies in the intricate working of our nation. We live in a country driven by interest and debt. The more individuals ensnared in debt, the more our nation prospers. It's the truth that may seem counterintuitive, but in reality, we must acknowledge. 12 years ago, I embarked on a transformational journey with Colaberry. My vision was clear. I wanted to be a mentor I never had, guiding others towards financial success. I dedicated my life to this cause, determined to share the invaluable knowledge I gained along the way. Then one day, my father introduced me to a remarkable individual. This man had not only conducted extensive research on generational wealth, but also had put these strategies into practice in his own life, helping others do the same. Over the past year and a half, he became my guide, leading me through the intricate process of structuring a trust for generational wealth. The results were nothing short of astonishing. I was so profoundly moved by this transformation that I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. I approached my mentor and let him know that I have a group of people who could benefit immensely from this knowledge and this program. Individuals that were on the cusp of financial success and who could thrive through the right guidance. That's when we decided to collaborate, and I set out to create a program tailored specifically for Colaberry alumni. The program is designed to equip you with the necessary tools and resources to construct the framework for generational wealth. It's about setting you on a path to accumulate assets with a solid game plan, not just for your own retirement, but to build a legacy that will fuel your family for generations to come. And as a testament to our commitment, I want to share a personal glimpse. Okay, I currently own 6 houses. 5 of them are rented out in Section 8. So that means that the government is basically paying the rent, helping me cover the cost of the home and the mortgage, plus some. Our guest speaker tonight, Jim, utilizes his properties as Airbnbs. And we're not here to prescribe the specific assets that you should invest in. Instead, we aim to illuminate the path of how to structure your assets strategically. It's about empowering you to not only retire, but leave behind a legacy of generational wealth for your family. And now, without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce our guest for the evening, the creator of the Financial Immortality Program, Mr. Jimmy Butler. With his experience, he will guide us through the structure and the intricacies of this remarkable program, explaining how it can transform your financial future. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Jimmy Butler. I want everyone to take yourselves off of mute and give them a woo, 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 woo,
woo.
Thank you. I mean,
yours.
I thank you, Ali, for such an amazing introduction. I'm taken back. It's a tough act to follow, my friend. Thanks for the intro, and I appreciate you guys giving me some time to share the story of my journey and my family, where we came from and where we're going, and how I felt some other people along that path. As many of you know, the average person spends most of their life and an enormous amount of their energy treading water financially. With their heads just above water, they work to pay bills day after day, month after month, year after year, and even generation after generation. Question it and you're told this is just the way it is. But what if, instead of treading water, you could build a boat financially? What if you and your family could stop treading water and rest, plan, strategize? What if your boat could grow over time? What if your boat could help the next generation build more boats? These are the questions we set out to answer. And what we discovered was nothing short of extraordinary. It led us to develop and design and create financial immortality systems. In short, we help families build boats. There's a picture of my mom. She's the original boat builder. And yes, that is me. And as you can tell, I eventually grew into my head. And that's a fortunate thing. What I'd love to do is take you through tonight very shortly is about myself, my background, about our family's boat, financial or immortality systems itself, about potentially your boat, and then some Q&A. Now, my background, and my name is Jimmy Butler, but I go by Jim Butler because although I do get really good reservations at restaurants, although people when I show up think I'm a little shorter than I should be, I think you guys can appreciate that. I've worked in technology for over 15 years as a project and program manager, and I've deployed solutions in North America, South America, Europe, and Asia. I've worked with brands including Coca-Cola, Carter's, Verizon, IHG, a number of different great brands with great people that I'm proud to say that we've done some amazing things with. Working in technology, my family is, my wife and I are both program and project managers. We used that background to start trying to amass and build our boat outside of technology. And what we did was we focused on the accumulation of assets, both real and digital. So I wanted to have properties, real estate, because I'm familiar with the benefits that those offer. But I also wanted to lean into our experience working in technology to build digital assets. Our real estate journey focused and in earnest started in about 2015. We started in Georgia, in Atlanta specifically, where we're based. In 2018, branched into South Carolina, Charleston, and basically all of those properties are under one specific asset class, which is Airbnb. We literally, if you know, it's a much better return on investment. It's a higher maintenance cost, but it's really good. In 2024, we're looking at leaning into Alabama, and in 2025, Louisiana. We'd like to diversify and, working with someone who has the expertise like Ali, lean into diversifying into Section 8 properties. So that's our map going forward. On the digital property side, over the past years, we've established properties that existed on the web category, social media, podcast. And next year, we're looking at doing an enterprise solution, which I'm very happy about. Again, we're very comfortable in that space. And it's, as you all know from your backgrounds, it's not as intensive capital-wise to stand something up and see if it will work. We culled these together and we were actually making pretty good progress. Our strengths were asset acquisition and asset creation. We know how to find the right properties, try to get them at the right prices, how to develop digital assets. Our challenges were tax strategy. I'll take these one at a time. With our income, and we're blessed to have a very good income in technology, along with what we made on our assets, we found ourselves with that, experiencing that adage, you pray for the rain, you got to deal with the mud. We had to deal with a heavy tax liability. Secondly, there was asset protection. Once you have,
Jim,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let me jump in there a little bit. Can you go back to the previous slide, please? You guys should be thinking, as you are already in the data movement, right? AI is the new electricity. Okay, so when we talk about building assets, it doesn't have to be real estate. It doesn't have to be these things that we've grown to know. All right, we're living in a new realm where there's new opportunities. So as you venture into data science, there's all these algorithms, there's generative AI, right? People are coming out with new things. So, keep your mind open as you think through this whole process, because there's different businesses that you haven't even thought of that you, by virtue of you being in this field, you'll be able to benefit from.
100%. Where we're kind of leaning into was the tax strategy was lacking for what we wanted. Like I said, in the success we found in these assets generating additional income, it put us in a relatively precarious situation there.
And I want to add one more thing into the tax strategy. Like, most of you guys are in the field now, right? Like, as you start making more money, your taxes go up, okay? If you plan on building wealth and creating assets, guess what? Uncle Sam's going to be right there in your pocket as well, okay? So you have to be more strategic. You have to come up with a tax strategy so that as you make money, it just doesn't get drained to Uncle Sam. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'll dovetail on what Ali said there. It's not about what you make, it's about what you keep, right? And putting that to work. So along with the tax strategy consideration, there was also asset protection. As you accumulate more and more assets and their earning potential, you become a target. If something unfortunately happens and somebody gets a judgment against you, that could really cripple your path forward. So that was a consideration. Also, there was generational longevity. We looked at the fact that once we're completed building this structure, what happens to the next generation? Are they set up to succeed? Do they have the same drives that we do? What if they don't? What if they have their genius is then shown in other areas, maybe in medicine and law, in other areas that doesn't take them down this path? What will we do? So what we did was we researched for roughly 3 years, looking at some of the very well-known families, Rothschild, Carnegie, Rockefeller, and then some not so well-known families, which we actually had the benefit of being able to speak directly to some of them. And they were in Atlanta, Charleston, and New York. And what we found across all of it, there was some key learnings that helped us structure what we've been able to build and help others build. And but the key takeaway is the following: the short sleeves to shirt sleeves cycle. And let me expound on that just a little bit. It pretty much goes into the fact that traditional wealth planning has a 90% failure rate. And it took me a while to really wrap my head around this. In an article by the Globe and Mail in January 2017, titled "Why Wealthy Families Lose Their Fortunes in 3 Generations," it states that less than 10% actually successfully have their wealth, whether it's $500,000, $5 million, or $50 million, make it past the 3rd generation. Illustrated, what ends up happening, and I think you guys have maybe seen this, the grandparents create the wealth. the parents enjoy the wealth and the grandchildren lose the wealth. And it's not because the grandchildren are not smart or not disciplined, it's that they don't have a structure that helps them keep it. Now, those very successful families we were able to research and those we were able to speak to, they had a number of things in common that we were able to glean and put in place and put into practice. Now, it empowered us to develop the solutions in a way that matched our background in technology. So what we developed with financial and mortality systems is technology-based, process-driven, and it's customizable. Everybody has a different financial DNA and risk tolerance. Mine versus Ali's versus anybody else's. So you have to be able to look at it, and that's one of the things we learned, something that is very customizable, very bespoke. Now, financial and mortality systems, I'll talk a little bit about that, is a wealth tech platform. What we realized was there was a lot of room in the industry for a wealth tech platform that helps individuals, families, and organizations create their path toward financial emancipation, financial affluence, financial wealth, and financial immortality. Those are the 4 pillars that undergird your developing an intergenerational wealth. And let me show you how. Financial emancipation, in this example, and this may vary person to person. Let's say your bills are $4,000 a month. Some people are a lot more, some people are less. But at $4,000 a month, the minute your assets, Ali's properties, my digital properties, the minute they make $4,000 a month to match it and pay it, that's financial emancipation. You're emancipated, you're free. This is not, and I put this note on the side, this does not include your money from your W-2, 1099, not your earned income, just your asset income. When we achieved financial emancipation, something unexpected happened. And I figured it would be just a step on the way to the next level. The amount of stress that came off of our shoulders, not having to think about, is the mortgage going to be paid? Are the cars going to be paid for? Or ballet classes for my daughter, the nannies? All of a sudden that wasn't an issue. And when that's not an issue, you start to think on a different level. You start to plan and strategize differently.
So let me get this right, Jim. If my bills come out to $4,000 a month, then my goal is to purchase assets that then generate $4,000 a month.
As your first step.
Financial emancipation, right?
Exactly. As your first step.
And so if I have a property, whereas my mortgage is $1,500 and I'm renting it out for $2,500, that means I have $1,000 to go towards financial emancipation. And as soon as I get that number of my assets producing as much as I spend on a monthly basis, that's considered financial emancipation.
Exactly. Very well put, Ali, and that's accurate. I think what's also important about it is I think a lot of us working in technology, you understand a full stack in building applications, security database, user front end. In this aspect, your base stack in this system is your emancipation stack. It's what, once you get to that point, you block it, protect it, and no matter what happens, as long as you don't go out and lease a Ferrari, you will always have that security, that peace of mind that's there. The next step that you want to go to is financial affluence. Now, again, I'm using these numbers as an example, and they may seem very low and very close together, but once you get 50% more than your emancipation, that's affluence. And the reason I say that is this. At the end of the day, that number for other people might be 8,000 or 12,000. But doing it at 50% more than your emancipation allows, there's a connectivity between the two. This level of financial affluence takes you up a level. And this system, the financial affluence system, that's one of your growth systems. Your financial emancipation is your foundational system. Then financial affluence, it's a growth system. The next one up is financial wealth.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there.
Yeah, sure.
Can you go back one? So what you're saying is that based on the amount that I spend out monthly,
Mhm.
I can achieve financial affluence just by reaching 1.5,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So,
Coming from your assets.
so it really doesn't matter how much money I make. It matters how much money I'm spending every month,
Yes.
right? So if my expenses are low, maybe even like $2,000 a month, I would only have to make 3,500 to
Mhm.
reach financial affluence. Is that correct?
3,000 to 3,500. Yes, you would be in that range. Agreed. And let me chime in on this. And I think you're describing it accurately. The issue here is the fact is that when that money's coming from your assets, not touching your earned income, your ability to then use that money for lifestyle or for investing in more items, more assets, it accelerates. It definitely allows for a lot of flexibility in moving that direction. And to what you said, Ali, going up even one more level, financial wealth, whether your expenses are 40,000 a month or 4,000 a month, your wealth is literally double that in income, in asset income. Rewiring our brains to look at things this way, I think, is one of the things that a lot of wealthy families with intergenerational wealth, they've done easily. They've done over and over again. I won't say it's easy, but we are taught that you have to actually work to make that money to pay your bills. We, and Ali can attest to this, what we did was we acquired the asset, let the asset pay the bills, used our earned income to continue to purchase more assets. Once we get these milestones, it really, really helps in the direction that you're going.
Okay, so let me get this straight. If the money that I'm making or the money that I'm spending in my monthly expenses,
Mhm.
if I double that in my income producing assets, I'm considered wealthy?
Let me tell you, yes, absolutely. Let me tell you why. And this is actually echoed from one of the families we interviewed. Because one of the things that a lot of wealthy families look at is people's perception of wealth. Some people think it's 30, 40, $50,000 a month, that's wealth. I've had clients, yourself included, just people who are making, are really frugal, are very focused like you. And I've had clients that earn wages, $700,000 a year, professionals. But when you ask them and we kind of do an assessment, well, how many assets do you have making money every month? And sometimes it's almost nothing. And when they realize that they can make that type of money, but somebody making $80,000 a year with the right assets actually they're more wealthy than that person making 700. If that person has, and the individual is a physician, if something happens to their hands, their mind, their lifestyle changes drastically. And even if you got really good saving habits, it's an issue then of just running through what you have left. With the process that I know everybody probably on this call has heard about, they know about it, they're familiar. You want those assets to undergird your life, your lifestyle, the things that you don't know are going to come up, medical issues, any number of unforeseen situations. But definitely the perception of what that number is in relation to wealth, that's what we did for our family. And what ends up happening is maybe that needs to go for some people. They're like, I don't think that's wealth. I think wealth will be 15,000. I think it'll be 12. Set your goals. You have to live by them, but they're your goals.
You
What
know,
we do.
I've seen these shows where they have the tiny houses and the people are downsizing, right? And
Mhm.
I look and I say, why would you do that, right? Why would you take the opportunity to squeeze into this small house if you can? But I also realize that their expenses are minimized.
Mhm.
And so they can achieve financial wealth making less money. So it's not really about how much money you're bringing in, right? It's
Yeah,
how
I think
much
you're right.
It's how much you can create and produce assets that can cover what you normally spend in your monthly settings.
And you know what's
So
interesting, and I think this ties into what you're saying. Ali knows me. I'm probably the bougiest cat he knows, right? I'm not one to tiny house, right? One of the things that I learned again from a lot of these wealthy families, some of them are mentors, is the fact that the quality of life that you exercise on your journey is important. We live a pretty good life, and I think we do keep an eye on what we spend, making decisions as to, hey, you know what, let's take this $20,000 and invest it, as opposed to let's buy something that's quality of life. It just becomes habit and a discipline that I think moves in that direction. But I think Ali hits the nail on the head in relation to deciding whether you're one to lean into austerity. I tend to try and help clients lean more into having more disposable income, allowing them to breathe a little bit more. What happens when your lungs inflate with air? You feel like you've got more energy, you've got more perspective. But and even on that, let me go on to get to the point of basically a couple of definitions that we have that'll help us take us through this conversation. You may have heard it, an IPA, not the beer, but income producing asset, right? For us, and I'm going to give you a few that are specific to real estate and other assets: single family homes, multifamily units, hospitality, hotel or motel, agricultural, and businesses, commercial, franchise, and otherwise. And like we discussed, digital assets, right? Very important. Don't forget the digital, as Ali had mentioned. Now, when building our boat, these were the asset classes that we leaned into first. The homes that we purchased in Atlanta, in Charleston. We're in agriculture in Charleston as well.
hey
And the
Jim,
digital
You
assets.
talk about, I mean, I think a lot of people are familiar with the other ones, but you deal in agriculture. Can you tell us how you make money on agriculture?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in South Carolina, we own a few hundred acres of farmland. And what we've realized in learning in a long-term play, that we do farming as well as trees, timber. You know, it's pretty much that's a very generational crop. What you can do, and you can actually, they will pay you. Lumber manufacturers will pay you to come cut your trees once they get to a certain level of maturity. You can, in the deal, have them replant trees, and then in 20 years, cut again. You can have a liquidity event once a generation, 20 years, every time, and it can be $3, $4, $5 million, depending on the amount of the type of trees, density, how much acreage you have. And that's, like I said, a very slow approach to it. On the farming side, you can partner with individual farmers and lease. You can partner with some other farmers and do a profit sharing. There's a number of different things, especially with now in the cannabis industry, that are very interesting. But even your traditional soy and wheat and other crops are, one thing people need is food, and that's a really good place to be. And again, it's about diversification. Not just us going from just Airbnb as a sub asset class over to Section 8 and others, but looking at also, well, what other ways can we make money with land, with properties? So yeah, agreed. So I think you need to explore a number of people talk about other things like self-storage, different things like this. There's so many things out there. You just have to find the right thing in the right space that makes sense for you.
Yeah, and let me add to that, because I see we have a question in the chat that's talking about, everybody wants to know what's the best producing income assets. I mean, that's like a $100 million question, right? And the truth is, different assets require, I mean, they have different returns, right? And then you have the market that goes into that. Sometimes the market can go down. We had, 2008, the housing crisis, right? So every investment is a risk. You're putting a risk, okay? So that's up to you to figure out. For me, Section 8 worked. Why? Mainly because I had a good friend that managed properties in Section 8, and I could work with her to do that. I had that connection that worked out for me. Jim delves in the Airbnb. He's done his research on that. He understands the market. He understands the value, right? He understands what the price of property's at. So we're not here to tell you which income producing assets to acquire. That has to be done during your research. And then I also help initiate that. I've had events, alumni events, where we brought people on that talk about investing, okay, about home buying, okay, all of those things. Those are just the, put those ideas in your head, give you the path. So if that's an option for you, then maybe you may go down that path. But that's what you need to start thinking about as you make your money. I know some of you guys are working 2 jobs or even thinking about working 2 jobs because you work from home, you're thinking about it, right? So if you had a plan like this in place, now you have something to work towards instead of an extra vacation or, oh, maybe I might purchase a property. No, have a number in mind, have a substantial number that hey, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is what we're trying to work for. Does this income producing asset make sense for me and my whole entire financial plan? And that's what we want you to start thinking about as you go through this process.
Agreed. Thank you, Ali. And I'll share something else with you guys. In the metaphor in the story that I told in the beginning about building a boat, what reason I showed the picture of my mom and myself in there and the other gentleman, my younger brother with the regular sized head. My mom was the original boat builder. When we were younger, she raised us on her own. My dad passed away when I was 5, and she had to do it with eventually 3 of us. And she bought a multifamily property, a 3-unit, and we lived in 1 unit. And the other unit paid the mortgage, and the 3rd unit paid for private school. The first public school I went to was GSU here in Atlanta. And my other younger brother in that picture is Dr. Alan Butler. He's an anesthesiologist, a pediatric anesthesiologist. My mom did that on $22,000 a year. So when I looked at what I knew was capable, what was possible, it was based on what I've seen, not what I heard. And then testing it and knowing that, you know what, she had nowhere near the income that I generate. So I knew if she could do that, I knew what we could do. So to Ali's point, you can choose whichever IPA makes sense for you. A part of the financial emancipation system helps you choose that, vet it, figure it out, hopefully to reduce your risk. Now, the next type of asset class is an EPA, an equity producing asset. These fall again to real estate. It can be real estate, financial instruments. Diamonds are fine jewelry. And I say diamonds meaning if there's a certified stone, something that can be insured, that can be an equity producing asset. It's worth more and more every year. Fine art. And again, digital properties, because depending on the IP or the value of the IP, the intellectual property, they can gain in value and can be licensed, right? Now, some of the materials that went with us building our boats, obviously, were we have some properties that are worth a lot more than we paid for them or what they are owed on them now, which is a great position to be in. We're leaning into fine art because there are tax benefits to that you did not understand, which is great. Like I said, that's also what we teach in the program. Now, your IPAs, your income producing assets, and your EPAs together, structured correctly under the correct type of company, the correct holding company, whichever makes sense from a management standpoint, an umbrella under that 4th level and 4th system, which is financial immortality. Like Ali said, part of that is your trust and how it's set up, how each LLC and LLP or whatever formation of company is under it. And what I love about this, and you probably heard a number of people say this, it's about controlling the asset, not owning it. It's about controlling the asset as the trustees, my wife and I, of the trust. We control all these assets, but our liability is almost nothing, right? At the end of the day, we decide where the money comes in, where it goes. Again, the 2 beneficiaries of our trust are our daughters. We have 2 daughters. And it's interesting to watch how they're living their lives, right? My older daughter, I like to say my older daughter and a lot of my money went to Temple University. And she graduated and is brilliant. She currently works for the family business. She manages all of the properties. And on top of that is a beneficiary.
Yeah, and
It's
I like to add to that. Jim helped me set up my trust, and within the trust are the properties that I told you that I have, and each property is protected by an LLC. Okay, so this whole structure not only helps you produce the income needed to cover your life and more, but also it has the protection to last multiple generations. And that's what's important in setting this up, because as Jim told us earlier, 90% of the people that set it up don't set it up correctly, and it doesn't last multiple generations. And you want this vehicle to not only help you retire early, but then also once you move on, to pass down that generational wealth to your next generation to help them gain an advantage. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Ali. That's a good point, and I'm glad you brought it up. Some people, they take their entire life and they work and they scrimp and they save so that they can just push the entire pile onto the next generation without any education, any structure, or anything like that. One of the things that happens there, Ali touched base on, you don't enjoy it. A part of what my wife and I, we're having an enormous amount of fun as trustees. In the way that we structure our trust, we make sure that the trustees can be compensated. If that's not written into your trust, it's a problem, but we can be compensated. So the trust has no problem paying for we have 2 New Testaments. The trust pays for that, because in our trust, it says we're trustees, we're asset managers. We manage and make sure that the assets within the trust are safeguarded, that they grow, we can acquire more. That is not, it is not a problem. It is IRS sound, and it makes sense to the growth and the health of the trust. You have to enjoy it going forward. It can't just be a labor of love. It's got to be something that you can benefit from in its entirety. So thank you for mentioning that. Let me just conclude on this. Again, your foundational system, the first one you lock in place that just takes care of everything, is your emancipation system. Your growth systems are your affluence and your wealth systems. Those 2 amplify and build upon the emancipation system, but it doesn't touch it. It doesn't let it get hurt. No matter what happens, that's always going to be your floor. Your bills are always going to be paid, period.
And let me add to that. Remember, guys, emancipation is when your income producing assets cover your monthly expenses. Okay. So that's your foundation: food, shelter, water, right? And then when you get to 1.5, which is affluence, then you can think about upgrading your lifestyle. Maybe you can buy a bigger house, because you're not having, like, if you still have a job at this point, you're not spending any of that money. Okay, you're not spending any of that money. So then if your income producing assets are producing 1.5 your monthly bills, then you could think about upgrading homes, living a better life, maybe having a certain budget for trips, right? So that's where he talks about upgrading your lifestyle through the affluence. And then when you reach 2 times, you're wealthy. Okay, so not only can you have the bigger house, okay, the vacations, but now you're producing 2 times the amount it costs you to live. Now you can travel, now you can do whatever you want to do with your life. And that's what everybody really wants to get to, right?
Agreed. And not only that, to dovetail on what you're saying there, one of the things that, and I want to echo this, some of the families that we talked to, they had this strict rule, and they were not all, say, double this or triple that. There was a variation, but one of the things it was a strict variation. They weren't, if their bills were $40,000 a month across 4 houses in different states, if their income dropped to less than half, they weren't trying to live the same lifestyle. They would be their version of frugal. The reason why you're looking at it as a 50% more and 100% more is a guide stone. like to what Ali's saying, you're looking at it in a way that's just basically, like I said, protecting the base. Now, the last level that you're going to, and again, this is a financial mortality level. This is the system, and it is a management, it's a protection and a management system that allows it to go generation over generation. It allows, it's the navigation system on the boat. If the boat is definitely your emancipation system, your navigation is your financial mortality system. Now, one of the things that we always mention is, some people ask, well, should I go to emancipation, affluence, and wealth, then set up my immortality? No. And we recommend this. You want to start along the path of your emancipation. When you set up the immortality system above it, the tax benefits are so good, the protection benefits are so good, and the management makes it so much easier. It's going to accelerate your path to getting to emancipation. Then it's going to protect it, and it's going to make it easier to go to the next two levels, affluence and then wealth. So I recommend you set up your emancipation system and follow it. Then you basically set up your immortality system, because here's the other thing too. We're not promised tomorrow. And I've had clients that have said to me, well, you know what? I don't have any kids right now, and I don't know if I want to do it. I'm like, okay, here's the thing. If you die tomorrow, somebody is getting your stuff. Who do you want that to be? And if you don't care, you're right. We can stop talking. But all of them, every single time, go, well, maybe I went to an HBCU, maybe then. Or I'm going to this church for years, or maybe then. At the end of the day, it's you make these decisions consciously. All right. Now, to Ali's point, I'll unpack a little bit more of that. Here's what we do in relation to our decisions. On the emancipation level, we take care of food, shelter, and clothing. That's what that does predominantly. In there is also, again, is the nanny, is ballet camp, is things that we deem important, right? On the affluence level is where we go into education, quality of life items, what we do, what we buy, different things like that. And at the wealth level, we look at dreams and experiences. You're talking travel, things that you've always wanted to do, things you want to have your kids experience. So I wanted to make sure you may set yours up differently, but we can help you prioritize that. Now, your goal. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. You're looking at, is this something that you can do for yourself if you're considering that? What we've developed here is the financial emancipation system that is just that first level that allows you to identify key objectives and milestones and achieve them. Now, that comprises 4 separate things, 4 separate disciplines that we help you work on, that we make almost effortless for you to do. That is expense and IPA income, credit management, professional team management, and then your strengths and capabilities. The first thing you get, and coming from a program management background, in deploying these solutions in all these different countries all over the world, and for these great companies, the one thing I realized in creating a plan, project plan, something that you're working with collaboratively, no matter what you do, you have to have a plan. So we codified the steps that we learned from all these families we interviewed, the steps that we went through, things we've learned with clients, everything, and we created a specific project plan that you can use to get to financial emancipation. Now, we want to make sure that it's easy for you to follow, so we made it simple. It's not one of those very immersive plans, but what it does is it allows you to track certain key milestones, see where they are, what percentage they're at, right? And this is an example. Let's say this one line here, which is at 75%. What we also do, aside from this project plan, is we give you a project manager. Now, what I realized, because of every program I've ever run, everyone my wife has run, is that if you don't have a project manager pushing things forward, hey, have you done this yet? What do you need? What's in your way? How can I help you? It's going to be slower than it needs to be. So we provide a project manager for you during this process to help you set things up, adjust them, learn about the system, and help you move forward in the system. For example, for that specific line item, through our system, which is built on another technology, I love the technology we've used in project management, is that it pretty much, they can reach out to you and say, hey, have you had a chance to finish this step? Is there anything I can do to help you move it forward? And you know from working in technology and other areas how valuable that is. Now, what's included as well is an expense and IPA income dashboard that allows you to see where you are, expenses wise, where you are IPA income wise, and how to grow. It also it breaks down your bills to what percentage. You can take a look at that, and until that's done, most people go, "Wow, I had no idea I was spending that much on food, this little on utilities, et cetera, and so on." We also have another dashboard for your strengths and capabilities. We do a SWOT analysis, and that's where I always tell people, if you're not good at management, don't manage. Hire management. Some people say, "Oh, you can't afford it." Yes, you can. It's cheaper than you trying to do it and pulling your hair out, as you can see, and pulling your hair out and not being able to do it correctly. We show you where your strengths are so you can engineer around them. That's what we do in tech, as you know, and this is what you should do in your own private effort. We have a team resource management system. Now, this is within your financial emancipation system. This is important. We have right here, these are actual, that's our CPA, Susan, our estate attorney, Stephen Scriber, and our real estate attorney, John Bennett. And there's also a bookkeeper who works for Susan. Now, here's the interesting thing. When it comes to something that comes up that you want to really use your team for, this is what we allow our system to do. You basically can, from within the system, spin up an email to them because you want to basically engage them on something you want to do. For example, we're purchasing an 8-unit multifamily, and you want to involve the estate attorney, the CPA, the real estate attorney, and Roberto, who's on here, and he was further down on the list. He's our mortgage broker. So I spin up an email, I include all of them. I ask them to look and see if they can identify any potential issues with this deal. Instructions bullet pointed to John about setting up the LLC, to Susan about working with Roberto to make sure that the loan package has everything it needs because she has access to that within the system, making sure that everything is there for underwriting, everything that needs to take place. Now, what's going to maybe happen with this is they're going to come back to me and go, "Hey, I got a problem with this. There's an issue here. This is an issue." And if the deal doesn't make sense, they save me a lot of time and a lot of money. They will push back on things that I want to do, right? If they don't think it's right. And that's what they're there for, right? Now, that's a very important piece of the system that we designed, because here's the other thing. This also exists in the same way like it is in your project plan, with those comments, with those learnings, because this is considered institutional knowledge. Once this is done, it's in the system, the communication back and forth, the process. You can go back and review it. Your kids, years from now, can look at it and go, "Wow, this is how they closed that deal on that 8-unit." This institutional knowledge is captured within the system, so you don't have to try and reteach it. You can sit side by side and say, "Well, this is what we did, this is what we thought about, this is why this deal didn't go, or this is why it did." But it's all there, and all the access to all of your resources, not just your professional CPA, lawyer, architects, contractors, plumbers. We have so many people in this one spot because we realized at one point it was so inefficient going through contacts in your phone. And that's supposed to be an amazing technology boost, right? But once it was in here, we had it. And by the way, the financial emancipation system, the whole financial immortality system is mobile based. So you can use it and access it from your phone, do all this from your phone. So that's a very important thing.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because Jim helped me find my accountant, okay, helped me find my lawyer. And so now if I'm looking at engaging in a property or something, I send a message, I copy them all, right? And I get all of their expertise. And someone asked in the chat, they're talking about building their IPAs, and having this structure in place as you're going through that process. You may not have any properties right now. Probably most of you don't, right? So you want to build the structure. You want to get that accountant. You want to get that, attorney on your payroll. Like, you're not paying them every month, right? Like for me, my accountant does my taxes. So I'm paying them to do my taxes and manage my trust, right? And so you may not be using them often, but they're on your team. You know that if you need this type of advice, you have this person that you already sought out that can help you, right? And include on all your communication. And that's what they do. They're professionals at that, right? You do what you do, they do what they do. So when you introduce a new idea, you get feedback from the accountant, you get feedback from the lawyer, and then that way you can know that you're making a sound decision.
Very, very well put. And one of the things you'll see, and it's, I guess, another part of the learning process, I've seen the CPA and the estate attorney go back and forth on questions, not even involving me, and solve it in front of me. And then but I saw how they solved it based on their exchange. And it's interesting because, again, that's knowledge that I inherit from them. Some people have asked, and I've had clients saying, well, how can they afford all of these lawyers? Well, here's the thing. The only lawyers you really have to worry about giving a deposit to or a retainer is a defense attorney. Every other attorney that you deal with is going to be transactionally based. John Bennett, who's an original title here in Decatur, Georgia, he is our closing attorney. He knows he's going to make money when he does our closing. So when I call him for a question, I'm willing to pay him an hourly rate to answer the question. And I told him he should, but he doesn't charge. Same thing with the estate attorney. Same thing. Unless I'm putting them to work and really bothering them 3 and 4 times a week, they're there to help you and help you grow. So you don't have to put retainers with a number of different people. Our accountant, even better. I mean, and I joke around about this, but the 2 people that have a plate first at Thanksgiving is your attorney and your CPA. These people are going to keep you very rich, very on point. So I really try to take care of that. But to my point, again, definitely we put our experience and our benefit of our technology background into building the system. And what we've done right now is basically been able to come together with Colaberry. And I'll let Ali tell you a little bit about it, but I want to make sure that I can lean into the value of what this is. As he's telling you about it, I'll let you go ahead now.
Yeah, and so you guys know data analytics. I mean, you could go and learn data analytics by Googling, right? You can Google enough things and learn about it, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to conquer and go get a job, right? And so what I'm helping Jim do is put together a structure where we could take people through this process of building out this system, okay? Now, this doesn't necessarily mean if you take the course, you're gonna all of a sudden be able to buy these income producing assets. It takes time, right? It's a process, but you need to set up the structure. You need to set up the trust, okay? That's going to facilitate this whole thing. For example, once you have a trust built and you acquire a property, okay, you would then need to put an LLC on top of that property, and then you would need to move that asset into the trust. Okay, so you don't have to have all of the income producing assets. That's going to grow as you go through life, right? As you work more, as you make more money, then you will produce and be able to purchase more. Like I'm looking for Colaberry to blow up so I can purchase more assets, okay, that I can move into my trust. So it's not about creating all of the entire structure. That's going to be done throughout your entire life. But it's about creating the overall structure that will house all of the assets, okay? You have to create this irrevocable trust that then manages the assets. So you can take everything out of your name and then you have this entity that you manage, but you don't own. So nobody can take it away from you, okay? And then it'll help you also last generation after generation through this process, right? So I'm working with Jim right now to build this process from what I've learned through the past 12 years of training thousands of people to enter this field. I want to use that same format to help people go through this process so you can really kind of nail it down and set you up for the rest of your life to assets and build onto the structure.
And if I could dovetail onto that, basically just talking about value, and that's everything you're going to be able to assess when you're looking at a new IPA is, can I buy this for, $100,000 and will it make me $2,000 a month? Will it pay for itself? You're looking at value. So we'll do the same thing here, using the same $4,000 number per month. Once you reach financial emancipation, even on your way to that point, and we experienced this, once you get to that point, you don't have what would be the equivalent of a $48,000 a year liability. You just don't have that bill anymore. And it's an amazing stress relief at that point. So the value of this, we believe, is far beyond that 1 year of $48,000. But what we've been able to do in working with Colaberry for this course is we've put this course and set it starting at 26-27. And we start the registration starting December 8th. And Ali's on my case to make sure that we can start the courses in January. I let him know that we do work with our individual clients. Colaberry clients are paying a marked discount, which is good because he believes in the alumni. And I think that's something that can really benefit.
I mean, you guys know my intentions, okay? Jim has put in a lot of time and effort and research and years, and I've been through the program, and I'm helping him structure it to where it can be an asset. I'm telling you, nobody teaches this stuff. What we're talking about today, nobody teaches it, okay? You're not going to learn it just by going and asking somebody. And if somebody has gone through this process, they're not going to tell you about it. They're not going to spend the time to tell you about it. I'm trying to bring it to you because I want to continue to help you advance your life. Okay, that's what this is for. I want to tell all my friends about it. Okay, I want to talk to them. I want to tell everybody about it. But heck, I can't even explain the whole thing without making your mind go crazy, right? So I'm trying to help Jim structure this to where we can get this out, okay, and make this common knowledge around the Colaberry community. So even as the new students that are coming in today, knowing, like, I cringe when I hear from some of you guys that you got your job and then the first thing you bought was a Tesla. I'm like, oh my goodness, right? I wish they could have had the foundation of understanding about this process before, because now you're thinking about that Tesla and you're like, is that producing money for me? Is that helping me move more towards financial wealth? Okay, emancipation, affluence, wealth. Is it helping me move towards that? All your decision making from here on out should be, is it moving me closer to my retirement? Is it moving me closer to generational wealth? That's what this program is going to help you start thinking about. Your purchases different. Okay, it's going to help you move different. And that's what you need, because at the end of the day, nobody's thinking about what retirement looks like. We think about it, and then once we get to the thought of being 65, it just gets fuzzy. We start dreaming and thinking about something that is not logically going to happen. Okay, but fact of the matter is, you ran out of money. We can't depend on Social Security. That's about to get taken away. Okay, you got to set your own plan in place, or you're going to be homeless. Okay, or trying to live off of the government. But you need a plan that you're going to spend the rest of your life executing. Hopefully you can get the results you need to reach the point to where you don't have to work for these folks. It could be extra money. Okay, you could do what you're passionate about. Start a nonprofit, help other people, create an organization. But you should have that choice. Okay, you shouldn't have to work until some medical issue happens and then you're no longer able to work, and then now you got to scramble. You can start putting your plan together right now, okay, and then just continue building on that plan.
Absolutely, and thank you. I mean, I think basically as well, but to me, like I mentioned, one of the things that we've helped, and Ali, I know from your background, you know this, when we work with corporations like Daimler, Mercedes, or and some of the bigger agencies in New York, here in Atlanta, we're brought in to make it easier. It's not going to ever be easy. but we make it easier. We streamline, we put process and technology in place. And I feel really good that we did that for ourselves, achieved the goals that I'm presenting. And then one of the greatest pleasures that I have is that I help other people do it, which is great. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm really thankful, Sally, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you for helping put this into the course structure. Working with clients individually in groups is great, and I think that does well. I think, but when we're able to basically lean into a classroom and have that collaborative energy, I think it's going to help people move in the way that they need to.
From here on out, you should be thinking about income producing assets. Okay, what type of business could I be creating? Okay, how much am I spending monthly? Can we cut back here? Can we make some changes here? Okay, I'm not talking about cutting back your lifestyle, but just analyzing it and seeing, because remember, the wealth is not about how much money you make. It's about how much your income producing assets are able to cover your monthly expenses. Okay, so you got to think about, how much money am I dishing out? Okay, could that money be spent somewhere else that can produce money through my assets? Okay, so that's what I want you guys to start thinking about, okay, as we prepare this class for you, right? So the goal today is just to guys understand what's possible now. Okay, understand, like, start setting a path to the end. Okay, what does my retirement look like? I'm not depending on Social Security. I need to produce enough income building assets to where I can cover the cost of living and then be able to live my life like I want to. Not only that, but pass something down to my kids to make their life a little bit easier. Awesome. Well, I'd like to take the time to thank Jimmy Butler for spending this time. Listen, I've been working with him. I'm like, no, we need to make it like this, and it needs to be like this. And just trust that we're working hard behind the scenes to help create this value in your life that, man, you're not going to find anywhere else. Okay, let's just be real about it. You're not going to find this program anywhere else. I've been working hard because this is a passion of mine. Okay, this ain't about money for me or trying to make an extra buck. All right, you guys know my passion. You know my day-to-day. You know what I put into this. Okay, this is just an extension of that passion. Okay, for me, it's about the impact. And if I can help you guys not only gain a career, but achieve generational wealth, man, that just, like, it's an imprint in my heart. Okay, that's actual change. Okay, that's progress. And that is what my life is about right now. So if you guys are excited, understand I am 3 times excited. And I want to really thank Jimmy Butler for coming on tonight. Okay, Jim for short, spending all the time with me, working with me countless hours to even make this tonight a reality. Okay, this is just the beginning, guys. Okay, we're going to be looking to advance this thing and grow this thing and turn this thing into something really, really big. Okay, so just stay close to the Colaberry community. You know, it's always love. You know, let people know that did not show up. We had over 100 people that signed up, but I get it. People get busy, but I don't think that people understand the impact that this program is going to have moving forward. I mean, we already know the Colaberry program has a great impact. This is like times 50. Okay, times 50 on a times 100 that you already had. Okay, do the math. It's ridiculous. Okay, and so no other program is going to offer this. Nobody even cares enough to do that. But for me, it's about the mission. Okay, it's about the mission. It's about changing lives. Okay, and so with that, I'm constantly looking out for how to improve your lives. Okay, all you guys got to do is show up and put out. All right, and we're ready to do this thing. And I'm gonna help carry it. I'm gonna work with Jim. We're gonna make this thing a reality. and we're going to push this thing through. So you guys should be getting an email from me later this week. I'm going to have the presentation, even for those who didn't watch it, encourage them. If you know friends that signed up that didn't show up, encourage them to watch it. Okay, we're going to have the presentation in there, and then we're going to have the sign up information shortly. Jimmy, you want to end us off on any words?
Thank you, is the word I wanted. I really appreciate everybody's time. And Ali, thank you very much for putting this together.
That concludes another Who Wants event. You know, we putting one on for you every quarter. We'll give you the details about this event this week. You guys have a wonderful evening. Good night. See you later.